So taking a look at our very first chord, if we move this E to the middle, we can now clearly see a root position C major 7 chord. 4 half steps, 3 half steps, 4 half steps, or every other note of the C major scale. And Alicia revoiced this by moving the 3rd scale degree, this middle note, up an octave. So we get this more open voicing based around this 10th interval in the top and bottom notes, which is a bit more open than putting the E here. Now she liked this voicing so much that she used it on every single chord in this intro. We have a B minor 7, and our D has been moved to the top. Keep having this middle note move to the top. This is A minor 7 and G major 7. Every voicing is the same. So where did she pick out these chords in particular? If we combine all the notes of these chords, we might be able to figure out what key we're in. So in our very first chord, I don't see A, but I do see B, as well as C. There's no D, but there's also an E, no F, and here's a G. So we have 4 notes out of the 7 that we need already. In our next chord, we fill in the remaining notes from this key. So we have A, B from our previous chords, also in this one. There's no C, but we have D. No E, but we have F sharp. We don't have F, we have F sharp. So now we have the 7 notes that make up the key. So we're in the key of 1 sharp, or G major. And all these chords fit into this key. Here's the A minor 7 and the G major 7. So we're just using diatonic 7th chords from the key of 1 sharp, descending down from the 4th to the 3rd to the 2nd to the 1st. And the only difference, or the only variation we get, is this B flat minor 7. None of the notes from this chord are in this key, so this is a totally non-diatonic chord. It's a chromatic passing chord, actually. We're moving chromatically, or in half steps, and we're just passing through this very unstable non-diatonic chord, sandwiched on either side by more stable chords. So stable, unstable, and stable again. Okay, let's look at the rhythm that she's doing. So she's just holding the root note in her left hand. In the top of the note, she's arpeggiating downwards in triplets, 3 notes per beat. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. She does that 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same thing on the next chord. But we pass through our non-diatonic chord for the very last of those 6 beats. 6 beats on our A minor 7. We get 4 triplets on this G major 7, and then she does a walk up. So just moving the chords 1 step at a time up in order to get back to where we started. So we're just walking the exact same voicings 1 at a time up the scale to get back at our C major 7. The only thing she does to make a little bit of a variation between the second half and the first is to drop the left hand down an octave. So starting from the beginning of the intro. Now watch the left hand here. See how she dropped down an octave? We have a more bassy sound down there. And our very last chord is the only thing different. She just holds it, does a bit of a flam. So just arpeggiating upwards very, very quickly. So now that we know a little bit more about how Alicia created this intro, let's borrow some of her ideas to create our own arrangement. So what can we do to this very first chord? Rather than picking out some new notes to add, why don't we just double the notes that are already here? So let's have 2 E's. And how about 2 G's as well? So we went from this to this. Still a C major 7 chord, but because we've doubled some of the notes, we've added a bit more depth to the chord. We also have more notes to play with, so something like this is more possible now. So what did I do there? I just arpeggiated those top 3 notes in yet another octave, so I haven't added any new notes to this intro. We're just using the notes that Alicia picked out and playing them in different octaves through arpeggios. So now I've started to add a few more notes. What I'm doing is just picking out notes from this key of 1 sharp and adding those in to create a little bit of melodic lines and even more harmonic depth. So for example, here's our 6-note voicing, but what if we did something like... So I just have basically my pinky, a little bit of my ring finger here, creating another melody on top, just picking out notes from the key. So a lot more depth there, and we can put that throughout the octaves as well. We can start adding in other notes from outside the key. Now this is a C sharp, not in our key of 1 sharp, but it puts us in something called Lydian mode, which is basically the major scale with a sharp 4, and it gives us a little bit of a brighter sound than our usual major, which gives us this tritone. So this is a nice way to make major chords sound even brighter. Nice, so now we've taken this intro to a really beautiful place, still preserving the inspiration from Alicia, but now putting our own touch.